안녕하세요. My name is Juana. My name is Kay. We're a married couple living in Malmö, Sweden. And we're here to talk a little about living as an LGBT couple in Sweden and in South Korea too. So what is our connection to Korea? Well, I was living there for 1.5 years. I was both having an internship at the Swedish Embassy in Seoul, and I also had an exchange semester, and also a semester where I only studied the Korean language.
Well, my connection to Korea is because I lived there for almost 6 years. I'm of Chinese descent, but I was born in Indonesia, and then I lived in Korea, and then now I live in Sweden, as Juana said. So now we're going to talk about what it means, what discrimination means to us. So what do you think about discrimination?
Well, I think discrimination is something very serious. It has been taken up in the UN more than several times. There's a lot of NGOs, non-governmental organizations, working against discrimination, against LGBT plus people. And it is very important to recognize that discrimination will keep people from coming out, from living who they are, from getting someone they love, and from expressing themselves. So discrimination is a very, well, not always being very visible, it's also very present for a vulnerable group of people.
That's true. And for me, discrimination just means like you are being treated so unjustly by society, by people around you, by the government in this case. So, and it can be related to sexual orientation or your age or your race, or if you have disability, for example. So, yeah. And so, have you experienced any obstacles when you live in Korea as LGBT plus people?
Well, personally, I didn't experience anything. I guess it has to do with that I am from Sweden, and it is you're kind of in a safe space, kind of being a white woman. So no, I didn't personally experience any discrimination. I know that's not the case for everyone. I was very lucky, and also I am kind of thick-skinned, so I don't take everything maybe as other people do. That's not saying that it's present, and I know a lot of people who have been in my situation who have experienced much, much more and actually been quite offended by it. So yeah, that's my situation.
So you didn't experience anything like really bad in Korea because of your sexual orientation?
No, not in particular. It was one time when we went to the Pride Parade, and there was this man hitting us literally with his cane when we were walking, and we were kind of worried we were getting lynched. Nothing more than that happened, but that thing where that man, an old Abuji, you know, he just hit us with his cane on the cows, and
on my hand, on my arm as well.
Yeah, but to me, and of course it's not good, but that's the only thing I have experienced personally. So.
Yeah, for me it was like both positive and negative experiences, and one of the negative part was during that event, and it was actually our first date in Pride Parade in Korea, and I thought, and that guy literally said, "Go to hell." You know, maybe you didn't hear that because we were kind of like walking around, and it was kind of like really crowded and so loud with surroundings, so it was quite really hard to hear. But I heard he said that while he hit us, you know. But of course we didn't really do anything about it because, you know, as a foreigner in Korea living for so many years, I know that we cannot really report it to the police, you know, because we don't really get much protection when it comes to like a Korean person versus a foreigner, basically. So we knew that it was no use to do something about it.
True.
And for me it was even like much worse because then I lived there much longer than you did. So I think the most horrible experience that I had was with my church, because I was involved with a lot of projects at my church in Korea, and basically I was like the front face, you can say. So everybody knew me. So it was really a struggle inside of me, you know, because a lot of men were really like perverted, and they kind of stalked me. They just wouldn't take no for an answer. So it was really, but then I couldn't say that, I'm sorry, I'm not into guys, it's like, and plus with that kind of personality, like sexually harassing people, who would want to be with that kind of people, So it's like, I couldn't really say anything, and it was really just like completely mental struggle, and of course, if you remember, we lived in Korea for almost a month, in a place. So that time I lived in Gosiwon, only 2 square meter big. So it's nothing.
It's tiny. Yeah.
It is tiny. It's very tiny. You remember you took a selfie there?
Yeah, I did. I couldn't even around at all.
Yeah, you couldn't even like stretch your arms like this. It was really hard. So I couldn't like ask her to move in with me. So I was the one who had to move in with you. But then at that time I couldn't like change my address to her address because it just it might risk you to be kicked out.
Yeah, if someone was found out having a partner and on top of that a same-sex partner, you will be definitely kicked out by that residence, and I had nowhere else to live. So it was out of the question to kind of introduce or anything, so we kept it super hidden and super secret. It was only a couple of close friends who lived in the same place as well. So
yeah, but we also had like a huge positive experience there.
Yeah,
because Korea is like, for us, it's the place where we could actually finally have that process for each of our own individual, like thought on this, our own personal sexual orientation.
Yeah, I came out in Korea. I struggled with bisexuality for many years. Finding myself in Sweden was really hard, and I can't tell why. I guess that's because I knew the community and I felt that the pressure was bigger. Being outside, I felt meeting other people from other cultures and other places just made it feel like you're a stranger among strangers. It's easier to, just be like anybody else, in my opinion.
Yeah. So you had that kind of struggle.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, and for me it was even like more complicated, you can say, because in Indonesia, like a lot of LGBT people are still being punished for being who they are. You can literally get killed for coming out. So I never had that kind of process when I was younger in Indonesia. So it was just, I couldn't even think about it, because I was just being horrified all the time. Or what if people know? Or I didn't even think about that there is a term of LGBT plus in the whole world. I just knew maybe there is like gay or waria, which is trans women, but nothing more than that.
Yeah.
Because I was just so terrified and horrified, and
it's kind of derogatory too.
Yes,
it's super taboo and everything. Like waria, the term is kind of derogatory.
Oh yes.
So yes, you don't really come out in your birth country, really.
Yeah, exactly. So when I started to live in Korea, I think after almost 3 or 4 years, then I started to like finally have that kind of process for myself. So Korea has been like, we have a very good connection when we think about Korea in that sense, because it was that positive experience that trumped everything else.
Yeah, and cathartic too. A lot of reflection and thoughts about who you are. Thoughts, I'd say.
Yes, so as much as it was like a lot of, there were a lot of negative experiences with, I still think that it was like the best.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So too.
Yeah. So shall we go to the next one? What do you think about anti-discrimination law in Korea, and do you have similar one in Sweden? Yeah, but we do have some anti-discrimination laws in Sweden. So I did some research about it because Sweden is not my birth country, so had to do some research about it. So some of the anti-discrimination laws is included in employment, which is since 87, and then also in the provision of goods and services, and that also started from same year, and also anti-discrimination laws in all other kind of areas. So that includes indirect discrimination, hate speech. So that's since 1987 for sexual orientation and since 2019 for transgender identity. And also concerning gender identity since 2009. And we even have like hate crime law includes sexual orientation and gender identity since 2010 for sexual orientation and since 2018 for transgender identity. So, well, it's not a perfect law, I would say. I mean, because there are still some gaps, I would say, compared to like heterosexual couple or people. So there are still a lot of things to be improved, for sure.
Definitely.
But we do have much better anti-discrimination laws in that sense. Like, for example, LGBT couples can actually get married and adopt, and lesbian couples have access to IVF and assisted insemination. And the Church of Sweden, they actually bless people to get married, even though they are same-sex couples or not. And the Church of Sweden is the largest Lutheran denomination in Europe and the third largest in the world. So imagine that kind of church power to protect people like us. I mean, because I identify myself as Christian as well, so that's really a huge win for me. Because it's just like it justifies me, you know, my being.
It's a general opinion, you could say, if you don't count about the laws, the culture is pretty good here, I'd say. There are a few instances where discrimination happened, and of course we always need to look at it seriously. But the general opinion and the general, feel about it is that it should be accepted and it should be embraced. So a person who would actually go against that, to be kind of discriminatory or like hate speech or anything, would be kind of shunned by the majority of the society in general. In general, I'd say. Which is good. It's great. So, next.
So, do you have any message that you want to deliver to the South Korean society? What about for the LGBT phobic people first?
I'd say, first of all, mind your own goddamn business. And it is not you're not supposed to know what other people do in either the bedroom or what they dress in or how they choose to express themselves. So mind your own goddamn business, and also imagine how much you could learn by not being so narrow-minded. It's another thing to say, but you will be proven yourself wrong about many people if you just try to keep an open mind. And just remember, even if you hate them, remember how many big profiles there are LGBT+. Let's just say, if you own an iPhone, you should know that CEO is goddamn gay. And that's about everything I will say, that we are visible everywhere, even if you hate upon it. So I would say, don't be a jackass. Don't be stupid. It's very simple. Don't be treat others how you want to be treated. Don't fall on the stupid side. Try to educate yourself. That's to all the LGBT phobes out there.
Yes. I think that's a very nice message.
No, it's not. Worse.
Yeah, I know. But I think that's really that's pretty direct, and it's like just put it in your goddamn head. But come on, like if you try to be as inclusive as possible to everyone, wouldn't it be so much nicer? And I mean, you don't have to agree for people like us. You don't have to even love us if you don't want to. Just mind your own business. I mean, if you support LGBT plus people, it doesn't mean that you are creating more and more LGBT plus people, because we are already here. We exist since the dawn of time.
You can't stop us.
Exactly. So it's like we're already here, whether you like it or not. We don't really need your approval to exist in that sense, because we are already, here. And you are not God, because you don't create another human being just out of nowhere, and let alone decide our own sexual orientation. It's like, who are you? Who the fuck are you? So it's kind of weird, and it's just like you supporting LGBT plus rights is not you being LGBT plus people. It just means that you are a good human being, and it's just better to just spread love instead of hate.
The hate will only hurt you.
Exactly.
And love will help you, hate will hurt you. So if you hate, you also bring that upon yourself.
Exactly. That's your life.
Yeah, that's your life.
And what is your message for the LGBT plus community in Korea?
Well, knowing I struggle a lot with my sexuality, and I struggle a lot with depression. A lot of like self-hate and doubt about who I am and who I should be in a constantly like a society that needs labels and identities. And I find it like sort of liberating to, you can identify as whoever you want to be. As I said, like it's the LGBT folks' own goddamn business to have their mind somewhere else. So don't listen to them. Try to always at all times be yourself. Surround yourself with people who support and love you. And if that doesn't work, find your own people. There will always be people supporting you. Never give up and never ever compromise with who you are, because you are born this way and you cannot change that, and that's the whole thing.
Nobody else can change you either.
No. So it might be hard. The road might be long and arduous, and in every way you will feel like you are alone. And in many times you will be, unfortunately. But there will always be people who are right, who will support you no matter who you are, what you think, and what you say. And I think that just try to find those people, find the comfort in that, and don't listen to the idiots, because they are not worth it. They are never worth the time.
That's so true. Message from me is just like, get the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
If you can. I mean, not everyone is lucky as I am in that sense. But I grew up in Indonesia, which has much worse sense of, this topic. So I know how it feels to not being recognized, not being seen for who you are, or not being even loved or accepted for who you are. And that also happened when I was living in Korea. So don't spend any more minute with that kind of bullshit, So as long as you can find your own safe community, go there. I mean, the world is a huge place, but that doesn't mean that there is no positivity in Korea in the sense of LGBT plus community, because I actually came out to myself, not came out to everyone, but just to myself, after a Korean deacon at my church who actually encouraged me to be who I am. And I never told her that I'm part of the LGBT plus community, but because of her acceptance, because she's a deacon, she's a Korean deacon at my homophobic Korean church, and that meant a lot for me. I don't think I could be the way who I am today if it wasn't for her. And if I could find that kind of very nice, positive, tremendous support from a Korean religious person, I'm pretty sure you can find that as well. You just need to find that kind of community and that kind of positive atmosphere in the society.
Yeah. Support each other too.
Exactly.
Support each other and understand that every story and path is different.
Exactly.
Very important.
And the last question, what are your and your partner's biggest dream?
Well, I'd say my dreams are kind of like, I want to write a book and get published one day. It's not maybe related to LGBT plus activities, but I would say...
But it could be.
It could be. Mm-hmm. It could definitely be. I would love to include LGBT plus characters in my writing. And also, if possible, I would make the best to be a good role model for all the people struggling out there, wanting to write, who are different, who feel like society has failed them more than once. So
Just to inspire people.
yeah, I guess so. I'm very bold about that, which is good. Yeah, that everyone should be who they are, and if I can do it through like my words, that would be a dream come true for me. In every way.
Well, my dream is just basically when it comes to LGBT plus community, I just hope that one day we don't need to have a pride. Because, I mean, of course, pride is cool, pride is fun, but wouldn't it be perfect if it's just like a basic human rights for everybody, regardless their sexual orientation?
No one needs to be scared.
Yeah.
Or have a fear of losing everything, like a family, or being killed, or violated, or everything. Like, just be who they are from the start, and never living with fear, I'd say, because everyone who has gone through the situation has been living with fear at some point. I am pretty sure about that. So,
Yeah. And basically, my other dream for myself is just, or for us, is just, to grow with you. Yeah. Yeah.
Put up a party.
It's not a one-sided love. It's only me who wants to grow old.
No,
She does not.
No, of course not. Of course I'm not to grow with you. Have a nice life and travel everywhere and spread our message of love and
Okay, Jeanna.
showing that it is possible if you try hard enough. As we have said like before, never give up.
Exactly.
That's the message.
Exactly. And just be true to yourself.
Yeah.
Well done. That's basically all. And we say goodbye.
Goodbye to you.
Bye.
Bye.